Let's get ready for Monday Mortgage Minute with your hosts, Tom McNamara and Bruce Woodburn.
All right. Happy Monday.
Yes, sir. It is a cold Monday.
It is cold in Florida, that's for sure. Yep. My fountain froze over. I think I lost half my landscaping and I even covered it up and the wind just blew it right off. So there we go.
Yep.
But we don't have snowstorms and there's no snow day here. But I tell you what, we do want to talk about. I think there's so much confusion going on about this whole tax elimination thing. And yet I think there's some merit in it. I just don't have all the answers. So I want to kind of dissect this just a little bit. So one of the first proposals that's in there is HJR 201, which eliminates all non-school taxes and on homestead properties only.
Right. So, so before we go too far, right, because I'm confused, by the way, and I've been following this for, 5 or 6 months, like all this stuff in the legislature, and I'm still confused about what they're doing. And I literally every day I'm doing an hour or two worth of research. But this proposal, HJR 201, was the first one that really hit the books, right?
Right.
And it eliminates non-school. So that's half, give or take, 40 to 60%.
Call it 50%.
So about half, right? So while it's tax relief, right, it doesn't protect homeowners from having their home taken for not paying their taxes.
No, but I can tell you this much. I will take anything for 50% off over 100%. So you're still going to help more people than not more people. It makes no sense. Here's my problem. I still don't know where the money's going to come from to replace it because none of these proposals are allowing the municipalities to increase their fees. So where's the money going to come from? And I think that's the taxpayer's biggest question. Give me a reasonable explanation as to where you're going to get this money replaced from, and I'll consider voting for it.
So here's what, and I'm not into the legislation. I just started learning about all this, all these different designations. So HJR is a House Joint Resolution, right? That comes from the House. HB is a House bill, right? That's actual like legislation that they can write. So these resolutions are things that they're going to ask voters to vote on. The House bill is something that the legislation can vote on. So the House bill is where the money replacement is going to come from. The House resolution is where they're going to ask us what we want to vote on, right? The problem is to your point, they have not said this is where the money is going to come from. There's some ideas out there, right?
Let's talk about that. First, we've got a similar bill, and that's HJR 203, which does the same thing, but it phases out over a 10-year period of time.
Correct. That's right. Yeah. So it starts off, it raises, I think immediately it raises
100,000.
100, right? And then it's 100K every year after that.
Right.
And I believe at the end of that, which would be 2037, instead of just stopping at $1 million, it just becomes everything, right? I believe that's what it is. So it's the same thing. It's just a little slower.
It gives us time to figure it out, though.
It gives the cities right. It gives the cities time to figure it out. It gives the state time to figure out where to get the money from. And we're talking about $9 billion out of about $115 billion.
The total amount of taxes on homesteaded property, I think we determined it was 18 billion, right? So if it eliminates 50% of it, we need 9 billion. And then we also know that if this whole Doge thing continues, I think you even mentioned that there's 1.9 billion that's already been identified that we could save, but that's only 1.9 billion out of 9 billion.
9 billion, right? That's exactly right. Plus, it's not necessarily in one place, right? So it's different cities that the money doesn't get pooled the way that we would think it might. It stays within the local municipality. So Miami-Dade wasted 367 million. Hernando County wasted 47 million, right? And I don't know what percentage of their budget that is, but I don't know if you could aggregate that and make it work.
And I don't know how many of them have been audited at this point either.
I think it's 12 total counties and cities, right? So I think it's 9 counties, 3 cities, if I'm not mistaken. And they've done a few more. They just did one recently, found another 49 billion. The other problem is this is, it's an audit without any teeth, right? So there's zero accountability. The state cannot
Right.
force a municipality to follow their recommendations, right? They can just say, hey, we think this is wasteful. And the county can say, whatever, maybe we shame them into it. I don't know. But, they can't force them into it. So there's another piece of legislation, I do not have the number on it, that actually gives the state teeth in their audits. I think that might be critical making this crap work, right?
Well, if you could get that to pass, that's another tough thing
We'll
to
see
get
how-
passed.
I'll follow up on that one and see how that one's doing. I haven't looked at that one in a bit.
So then there's the other one, the HJB 787, but I don't think this is going to go anywhere because you got to raise the sales taxes. Then they want to put a 5% fee when you sell your house. So,
I did a whole video on that topic, and the amount of hate that I got about the 5% exit, I might as well have told people I'm not even going to say what I could have told them.
they thought you came up with the bill, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it was
Yeah,
like, oh God. Yeah, I'm probably the worst person on the planet just for talking about it.
When you look at that, here's the thing. Here's the only thing with that bill. It's the only one that has actually come up with, that I've heard, with a solution as to where to make up the deficit.
Right.
It's the only one.
Yeah, it's the only one that makes complete sense. Even if you don't like it, you're like, all right, I get it. You're going to take from here and you're going to give from there. Right. You don't have to like it, but the rest of them are like magic fairy dust, like where they're going to get the money from.
So there's a couple of proposals that are out there that might be able to get some traction, but I don't think I don't think voters are going to vote for anything that they can't sink their teeth into. You've got to get more smart people. Now, not everybody's so smart, but I think people just want to hear, okay, if you got it from tourism, how might that affect our tourism? If you got it from a sales tax, how might that affect me? And put a number to that based on economic income per thing.
And by the way, I know Vegas is famous now for having put a bit too much tax on their tourism trade and seeing their tourism trade go to complete crap.
And see, you got to be careful of that too. In Florida, I mean, tourism's our number one trade here. We need our tourism, and I don't want to do anything. We already got lunatics on the street killing off tourists. We don't need anything else to deter them.
Right. So two out of three of the big replacement monies involve tourists, right? Well, and really 3 out of 3, but definitely 2. One is a 5% fee on hotel rooms, short-term rentals, Airbnb, ride share, everything that a tourist would use. Well, we use those too, right? I don't know about you. I
use Uber all the time.
I vacation in Florida all the time. I might take 3 or 4 weekends a year where I'm in a hotel in Florida, right? So, that hurts me a little bit. I'm not so worried about it, but it is a 5% tax on additional taxes. We already tax hotel rooms pretty heavily. Are we going to throw 5% more on? Is that going to hurt the hotel industry, right? And then there's the tourist development tax. So that's the bed tax that I was just talking about, where we tax hotels. Right now, that's kind of lockbox, right? So it's one of the few things that the state has said, we're going to collect this money for this purpose, and we're going to actually use it for this purpose.
Right.
Unlike the lottery that they said was for education, and it's really not. But this is actually done. It's actually done right the way they said it was going to be done. And now they're saying, well, maybe we'll unlock that lockbox and let cities and counties use that tourism money to backfill some of this. Well, I don't know how much that money impacts our tourism industry, but I imagine some of the advertising that I see when I'm out of state is coming from that fund.
Well, I would imagine so. And I think, you have to be very careful because you put pressure on one particular part of it and it could eliminate or could reduce our tourism coming in.
Sure.
I think that they could spread that out over small increments, maybe a half from tourism and a half from something else, another half sales tax. Maybe
well, they want to add a sin tax too, right? So, sin tax, right?
So what, that's on alcohol and booze and drugs?
Alcohol, tobacco, and medical marijuana, which is funny that medical marijuana, but they call it a sin tax. I find that kind of interesting.
Yeah. So they're taxing our pharmaceuticals again. Is that right? So now what they could do, hey, listen, and this didn't make it. It came close. But the whole marijuana thing, they could tax the crap out of that, make it come on, it's going to happen sooner or later. Why not solve this whole problem? You could probably do it with weed alone.
Yeah, probably so.
now it becomes recreational, but there's a heavy tax on it. I don't know what the tax on cigarettes and gas is, but it's a lot higher than normal taxes that we pay on
I
other
can tell you, I can tell you this, that on alcohol, tobacco, and telecommunications, right? And a lot of things, gas, the state actually makes more profit off of those products than the companies that sell the products do.
100%. I believe
They
that.
make less revenue, but they make more profit.
I get it. And you know what? I think that there's some merit in that. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to put this out there for everybody that listens to this. I think that HJR 201 and 203 are the closest to being able to come to reality. And I think that it's going to be one of those two. So I want to have everybody that's listening chime in on where they think the pros and cons and what they think would be the solution to replacing the money. Okay, whether it's Doge, taxing tourists, taxing whatever. Let's come up with some stuff and then let's bring this together so that we can then help educate people and get some legs behind one of them. Because I agree with you. Putting this off, because if nobody understands it, they're not going to vote for it, and then we get nothing. I'm willing to take 50% off my property taxes all day long. And I think that we'd be making a mistake not to come up with one of these.
Well, and I agree with you. I would really like to see 100% option on the board that's not nuclear and for everything. I just want it to be 100% homestead, like our boy Ron keeps asking for.
Okay.
But in case you didn't know, we talked about the two big ones, but there's HJR 209, which all it says is we'll give you a bigger cut as long as you have insurance. There's HJR 205 that is only for people 65 or older. There's HJR 207, which just changes the math to 25% of the value of your home. There's some really interesting ones. HJR 211, which removes the $500,000 limit on Save Our Homes portability.
Okay.
Right. So that just changes the math on the back end. 213 changes assessments to once every 3 years. So your house doesn't go up in value every year, but every 3
It
years.
goes up every 3 years.
It's also capped at 3% over that whole period, right? So
Right now it's capped at 3% per year.
3% annually, right? Which is 9%, or actually probably closer to 10% if you compound it, but it would only be 3, which would, help keep taxes lower. Then there's one that just does the assessment cap at 1.5% per year, right? So there's tons of different options and the problem is I think they're going to put all these freaking things on the ballot and everybody's going
to just confuse people. You can't, that's why TGI Fridays doesn't exist anymore. They had too many things on the menu. You can't give people that many choices.
Well, that doesn't explain the Cheesecake Factory. I don't know if you've ever been there, but they have a lot on there.
They have a lot on their menu. And they're in bankruptcy too.
Are they really?
Absolutely. At least they're here.
And to see that go, their cheesecake is delicious.
There's their food. I mean, it was enough for 3 people, but that's beside the point. So listen, we're going to keep bringing this to the table. We're going to discuss all these, but all of the listeners, I want to really focus on this, come up with some solutions. Let's come up with something that maybe all of us together can help move the needle in one direction. So proposal I put out there, this is what we do right here. And I hope everybody chimes in on it. I hope to see that. Have a good week.
Yeah. You have a good week yourself.